Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday show. I am your host this evening, One Ton Hammer. I have with me Terry DeMattis. Say hello, Terry.
Hello.
I don't know what happened to Jen. She may not be aware that the show was on at 9 o'clock tonight, even though I did mention it in Discord. So, just you and me. It's just the guys tonight, apparently.
Yeah.
Maybe we have to do a little bit more advertising to let people know that some of the hosts are going to be running shows at 9 instead of 11:30. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we told people enough, but apparently not. I guess people just haven't adjusted their schedules to the new time yet.
Yeah. Well, on tonight's show, the Wednesday show, the Texas abortion ban is in the news and all over Twitter. Oh my God. Ford has come out with a truck designed with pride in mind. I don't know if you've seen it, but it is quite colorful. Makes me proud to be a Chevy owner. Also, Sleepy Joe. Who would have known that Trump was so prophetic that we can actually watch Joe fall asleep live on TV? That's our president. 80 million people, folks. 80 million people voted for this guy.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I'm afraid to say allegedly. If anybody in the audience is noted, our friends in chat, we love you. Hello, everybody in chat. Spud. We don't have any avatars tonight. And that's because my screen is set up for 3 hosts. So when we're missing somebody, the screen doesn't look quite right. So no avatars on screen. But trust us, we are really here. But I think Terry and I sound significantly different enough that you can tell who's talking at any one point.
I would hope so.
I'll keep mentioning your name so new people coming in will be able to tell us apart, just in case. Somehow I don't think there's going to be any confusion. So, do you have a preference on what we talk about first?
I'm curious about the gay truck. So let's start.
Don't mince your words. Gay truck. So
I could have said the F-word truck, but this is a family show.
So I'm not even sure gay, trans, I don't know what the idea behind this, but it is a pride flag based truck. It is a Ford Raptor that is black, and it has the colors of the pride flag starting at the center of the hood, wrapping down across the hood and back along the doors to the tailgate. And it's because, according to Ford, we asked for it.
Well, I am not part of we then, because I definitely was not asking for that.
No, you didn't ask for that?
No.
I didn't ask for it either. I have a strong feeling that 3 people asked for it, and why it has to be that way from the factory and not just something you can customize yourself. I don't understand why this doesn't really scream masculinity to me when your truck is... This is a Raptor. This is supposed to be their fast, hair on fire, super trucks kind of things. Not made for hauling, but more made for racing and for looking really pretty. Maybe that's the point. This looks really pretty to some people. It certainly doesn't sound even remotely masculine. I have been all my life a Chevy person. My father was a Ford person, so I grew up my entire life in Fords. Station wagons, I had Ford LTD, all kinds of Fords, including pickup trucks, and I never liked them. Nothing against Ford. They sell more cars than everybody on the planet. But I just never really liked Ford. They, especially in the area I'm living in, because they have a tendency to rust in the undercarriage. And up here, it's a lot of rain, a lot of wet, a lot of grass, a lot of moisture. And trucks up here, you look around, there aren't many Fords up here. They're mostly Jeeps and Chevys.
Fair enough.
And Toyotas. That sucks, but it is what it is. And Dodge. Fords aren't that big up here.
I don't own a car. I never have. And seeing as I don't have a license and it would be illegal for me to drive one, I probably never will.
We've got Cynic in chat. Hello, Cynic. And OG Costins in chat. So some people got the memo.
Yes. Or at least the notification when we went live.
Yeah. Did you happen to spy what the broadcast chat looks like? No?
Oh, yeah. The color scheme is considerably different from the all white that it was before.
That's so embarrassing. I can't believe I ran shows with that white screen. But yeah, people who have moderator will actually get an entirely blue bar all to themselves.
Yes.
And if Minions of the Zoo were to chat, let me just chat something in Minions of the Zoo. I think I have it set up for her. Minions of the Zoo. Hello. That'll take a couple minutes to show up. That is in like a burnt yellow because that's what the owner color gets. And if we were ever to monetize and we got green people, it would be a green bar across there.
Fair enough.
I think it looks nice enough. At least it's not that whack white screen that looked absolutely rancid, terrible.
I mean, I've said before that aesthetics not really my thing. I didn't have a problem with the white, but you and Jen both see what looks good and what doesn't, and apparently it looked bad. So I support the change.
Aesthetics mean things to some people.
No, I'm not saying that they shouldn't. I'm just saying it's not something that my brain is designed to appreciate.
Yeah, I want something that's attractive and different. I don't want my chat to look like everybody else's chat and that kind of thing. I want to be able to stand out a little bit. So, but I just happened to catch it while we were talking about gay Ford trucks. I just happened to catch it out of my left eye. I was like, "Ooh, that looks pretty." I used a test chat, like I mentioned to you earlier before we started tonight. I used a test chat from a channel that just broadcasts music 24/7 on YouTube, just so I can have some kind of chat running on the screen to test with. But nobody there had moderator, and the owner of the channel never said anything on chat, so I just had black and white text rolling around. But it's nice to see that the blue and the yellow actually work, so I'm happy with that. Or the win nil.
Yes.
Is in chat. Hello. We're talking about gay trucks. Because that's vital information for everybody to know. So I saw it. I mean, it's not bad. It looks very rainbow. Looks very colorful and pretty and all that kind of stuff. I wouldn't buy it if you put a gun to my head. Defensively, Susan. So, but I mean, this is just another reason for me to say I'm not a Ford fan. That they're bowing to that length of the progressive trans agenda. It's almost tiring to hear that phrase anymore. Now, if Chevy comes out, I'm going to be pissed because I'm a Chevy owner. If Dodge doesn't, I don't really care. Dodge trucks are Ram tough. They better not come out with a gay version. That would go against their own motto.
I reckon they should put their money where their mouth is. Release the gay truck in Iran. Clearly, this is not just performative. They sincerely believe in the progressive message, and Iran really needs to hear it. I hear they're quite intolerant of such minorities over there. So they should take their rainbow truck to the Middle East and start converting people to progressivism.
See what Skep Tock says in chat. I did not turn their freaking trucks gay.
No, that was the chemicals in the water that turned the freaking truck gay.
Mr. Adams in chat. Hello, Mr. Adam. So I mean, I'm happy that I'm a, or at least to this point, we'll see if there's a reprisal on on the Chevy side, but
yeah.
I don't have a truck, although I would have no problems having a nice Silverado or something like that. I have a car, so I have a Chevy car. And my father bought a Ford Escape for my mother that's in her driveway. So she's still driving a Ford. But whenever I go over to see my mom, we get in my car and we go. I don't drive that piece of Ford crap anyway. My political bias against Ford. Also,
I actually did briefly own a car because I inherited it from my dad when he died, but I almost immediately gave it to my auntie. So there was like 6 hours where I owned a car.
Cool. Do you have a license?
No.
Oh, so
I inherited the car when my dad died, and then I was like, look, this is no use to me. So if you want it, you can have it. And she's like, okay. So we went to the RTA, which is our DMV. I signed it over to be in her name, and then she took the car and never saw it again.
When you purchase a car in the States, you have to prove that you have a license before you can purchase it. Now, I don't know how that would work as far as inheritance or any of that kind of stuff. I mean, but if you go down to a dealership and say, I want to buy this car, can I see your license? You can't get past that. So,
I mean, it makes sense that they won't let you buy something that it's illegal for you to use. Like, I get where they're coming from with that, but
I guess. I mean, you can buy it and then give it to your brother.
Yeah,
it's not
but then I think I think if you're going to buy it as a present, there should be accommodations for that. I think you should be able to say, I'm buying this as a present, and then have it on record that you will not drive this car, and then if you do, then that, you get fined or whatever. Because if you can't buy a car at all without a license, then you can't give them away as presents or whatever.
Well, why don't we move on to Texas? Unless you want to talk about Sleepy Joe.
No, the gay trucks was the one that I wanted to talk about first. The other two, I don't mind the order.
Okay. Well, the Texas abortion man's probably a little bit more serious. Let's go with Sleepy Joe for now.
Okay.
Did you actually see the video of him talking to the Prime Minister of Israel?
Of Israel?
Yeah, Naftali Bennett is his name. Have you seen that video?
I saw a video of him nodding off. I didn't have audio. I saw the Israeli Prime Minister and Biden's like sort of nodding off, but I don't know what they were talking about. I didn't have audio on the video.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care what they're talking about because Joe wasn't awake through most of it anyway. But he was not actually asleep. We're making fun of him and all that kind of stuff. He's Jen's in chat. Jen's here. Hey, Jen.
Yeah.
There she is.
Yeah, Mr. Start Early. It's the same StreamYards, but no. Oh, hey, just so you know, because I live in a different time zone from you, Hammer.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Go look at Discord.
Yeah.
All I can say
is I did check my Discord.
Look at Discord.
But I know I did check my Discord, but that.
That means I can add our new color avatars to chat. I spent so much time working on this. It's going to look funny as I put them in.
I think you should have one that sings in Australian, and you should have one that sings in Canadian.
There you go.
Well, I signed you random colors for your chat bubble. So you can tell me if you... Terry won't care. We know that.
No.
We could get Terry a disgustingly cute koala bear, and we can get me, I don't know,
I can make his chat bubble pink.
If you want.
Well, I mean,
he won't care. He's not going to.
I mean, he probably wouldn't. No.
All right, so let me go ahead and add these in. I'm going to put the names in first. And we'll go ahead and add the avatars. And amazingly, they're in the right places. And the chat bubbles are in, and it looks like they're working. You guys can say something so that the world can know that they're working.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah.
I was just double checking what the topics were, and I was like, the first thing I see is Texas abortion ban. I'm like,
we're getting into that in just a moment, but we already talked about the gay trucks, turning the frogs gay, turning the trucks gay.
I mean, they were already gay in Transformers. You do know that. I mean, some of those characters were very flamboyant.
There was at least one that was quite. I don't think many of them were. There was one. But I didn't think you would have much to say about gay trucks if you were going to be late, so that ended up working out perfectly anyway. And we're just about to get into Sleepy Joe, but do you have the stream up that you can see how we look on the stream?
I do.
You do? What do you think? I got green, you've got blue, and Jen's got like mauve, like a light mauve. No, it's more like a puce, more like an off.
What?
It's like a yellow orange. It's like a light orange. That's it. It's like tangerine.
It just looks pink to me.
Oh, it works.
Well, you have color blindness.
Yes,
right?
I do.
Okay.
Yes, I'm colorblind.
What do you guys think of your? I mean, I'm just really talking to you, Jen, because Terry's not going to answer me. But
well, mine's not very bold. So I mean, it's there, but it's not flashing quite as much. But I mean, it for when it shows up, it's a nice color.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
It now looks orange. It's hard to tell. It's either orange or pink. My brain can't decide what color it is.
But I look green, right?
Yeah.
You look green and I look blue.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Well, these colors are totally changeable. You have 16.7 million options. So if you are unsatisfied, Jen.
I'm not.
Because Terry don't care.
No, I don't mind. I don't mind the color. It's just like in terms of like the show, it's not as bright for certain moments. So you might want to adjust that on your own. Like I think you watch these back too, don't you?
I do.
Yeah. So you'll probably see what I mean. Like I'm not fussing on this one. I'm just pointing it out because the picky people on the internet will.
Yeah.
I don't know shit about how to do this stuff, but like, yeah.
Well, all you have to do is tell me what color you want, and I can grant your wildest wishes.
No, the color is fine. I've never been a picky person when it comes to color. It's usually just whatever I get.
Mm-hmm.
At best, I am actually a very positive person. Like if you'd given me brown, I would have figured out a way to make it positive.
Okay.
Right. Because I was the kid that sometimes got brown, and it was just like you could sit there and fuss about it and have a crappy outlook on it,
mm-hmm.
or you can learn how to own brown. And people are
what
like, oh,
brown
they don't want brown.
You?
Look, brown can be trees. Brown can be the dirt that you grow the trees in. The brown can be the leather that you're wearing. Brown can be a lot of things.
Brown pride.
And it makes you less racist.
I was going to say, it could be people.
You know what? It could be people. It absolutely could be people. I don't necessarily go directly to people when it comes to color, but
me either.
Yeah, it absolutely
Terry
could
does.
be people. Because you know what? And I hate to break it to the leftists who want to like point fingers at me and be like, oh, you're a conservative. You must be racist. I hate to break it to you. I was an art student. Black people are very much fun to paint because they come in very different shades of colors. Mm. People who like to paint in tones.
Yeah.
Skin.
Is that
yeah.
Is that a Canadian thing? Is it conservative where you are, or did you just misspeak?
Conservative.
Okay.
No, that's just me. That's just me. Sometimes I word things weird or I talk too fast.
Listening to Blind and other people that I know in Canada, listening to you talk, you don't sound to my ears as Canadian as other people do.
Different provinces. I
really?
Probably come from Alberta is a little bit more standard in terms of English. Don't use me as an example because I'm also in a very international city. So in terms of my accent, like, gosh, working in customer service, I went from sounding like I sounded like I lived in Britain for a while. I sounded like I was related to like Filipinos for a while because I kept picking up their accent.
Yeah.
And it was like a mixture of Spanish and they don't all speak Spanish. It's a different language as well. So sometimes I would sound like them and I'd be like, you know what, if you hear me doing that, you poke at me because my brain just tends to parrot people.
Yeah.
And it's not something I'm doing on purpose. It's just
Gotcha.
It's actually a form of flattery too, because usually if I'm picking up an accent, it's because my brain has decided it likes the sound. It decides it likes what it hears, and that's when my brain starts replicating stuff. And
we got a couple people who've shown up in chat because it's 9:30. Shroom is here.
Hi,
Original
Shroom.
Shroom is here. Spittlebuggies is here, and Mr. Yes is here. Hello, everybody in chat.
I don't doubt I'm not the only person here, though, Hammer. I bet if we threw you in England or over in Australia land, like you probably would start picking up.
Oh, absolutely. But I think we mentioned this last time we were talking. I have a problem because this is not my normal accent. I was thrown into a class to unlearn my accent, and now I cannot retain my accent anymore. So if you were to throw me anywhere, I would immediately. If you threw me in Scotland, I'd be talking just like Tailed Feature in a moment because I just can't maintain an accent. I just absorb immediately whatever is around me. It's even difficult me on the show just talking with Terry because I catch myself talking like him if I'm not careful. I have to constantly, intentionally not sound like him on purpose.
It's I don't think I adopt other people's accents, but when I went to England, there were so many guesses as to where I was from. Like some people said Australia or New Zealand, but one person said South Africa. And that one caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting to be told I sound South African.
No, they're very different. Like now that I've talked to more Australians and New Zealanders even, it is actually very different. Like the first time I met a South African, I made that mistake too, because they sound a little bit more like Crocodile Dundee. Like as much as we accuse you guys of it, they really kind of have a heavier accent with it. So they tend to sound a little bit more like him than you guys do. Sorry, South Africans. I'm just saying, like, it's a little bit heavier tones.
Our Thursday night host is in chat, Johnny Hellcat. Hello.
Yes,
Terry.
hi, Johnny.
Hi, Johnny.
I do think it's interesting that, like, where you live determines, like, how well you can pick up which accents. Because I was talking to Spudgun a couple of days ago or whenever, and like the difference between Scottish and Irish, a lot of Americans can't tell the difference at all because
no problem with
it
them.
kind of just sounds the same.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're in that area, it sounds like night and day. And I was thinking about it, and it's the same with Australia and New Zealand, where I can tell a Kiwi accent instantly because I know what Australians sound like.
Right.
But if you're on the other side of the world and you don't hear that every day, I can understand why you would be like, are you Australian or New Zealand? I can never tell. Like I get why people would make that mistake because they're not surrounded by it.
Well, it's even over here. Like regionally speaking, we sound different. So for us, I think it's more of just like regionally speaking. Of course, you're going to sound different to each other. You're on completely different. You're not on the same land to begin with. As much as we joke about islands and shit. Like you're completely abstract from each other in that sense. But like for us, like we kind of have the same distance going on, So it still has that regional feel. So like if I go to the US, like I can tell that I'm in the US, but I might not know specifically what accents. Like I might have accused one of Reaper's friends of being Texas when he was from Tennessee.
Right.
And I mean, Americans are nice about that too, because sometimes you get the odd guy who's like, "Why the fuck wouldn't you know that?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I don't take notes." I should have, but if I was gonna do that, I should have started sooner.
I can tell the difference between Australia and New Zealand, and you it's important to do that because if you make a reference the wrong way, both of the people from both places don't like that very much. And I can tell the difference between Ireland and Scotland because I listen to YouTubers specifically from those two areas.
Yeah.
I listen to Diane Jennings. She's an Irish streamer. And of course, everybody listens to Tail Feature. He's a celebrity in Scotland, don't you know? So, I mean, and
Dankula.
Well, yeah, Dankula is, the thing is, I can understand tail feature, but I have no idea what Dankula's saying. I don't think many people
Really?
do. Oh, he is so heavy with the accent to me that I'm like, what is that?
No, I got no problem with him. Yeah,
Really?
I got no problem with him. Yeah, no problem at all.
No, I don't have a problem with that either.
Have you ever spoken to opinionated Scotsman?
No.
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's got even a little bit stronger accent than Dank. But I've got no problem with either.
Well, Terry, you're not strong either. When it comes to Australia, you don't have a strong. I mean, Bering is much more.
Oh yeah. I don't have the strong accent, but I remember like in the 90s, I was at the video shop, and we rented a Billy Connolly stand-up special, and the guy was saying that he spent like $150 on tickets to one of his shows, and he didn't understand a word he said. He was like upset about it. Like he wasted his money.
He's the guy in the crowd who's looking left to right, trying to figure out what's going on. What the hell is he saying?
And I thought that was funny. He's like, he spent like $150 on a comedy special, and he didn't understand a word that was said.
That's hilarious. Anyway, well, I hope you're happy with the. I had several options, and I just picked the colors I wanted, and I wasn't sure whether to put everybody's icons all the way to the left. I just put a little stripe off the side. I thought it looked kind of sporty, whatever. So I think we're done as far as me having to work on the screen anymore. So my OBS screen, that's the way it's going to be going forward unless we change colors. So why don't we pick up again with Sleepy Joe? We had just gotten into that when you got here, Jen.
Okay, so
did you see the video?
Is he checking his clock again?
That was another problem. We can also talk about that. But he was in a meeting with the Prime Minister of Israel. The Prime Minister's name is Naftali Bennett.
Yeah, didn't he nod off?
Well,
yeah.
Fact check false. However, it certainly looks like it. And optics are a big part of how you're portrayed in the media. You can't put your head down and close your eyes.
Didn't the Israeli Prime Minister, though, say that, yeah, actually he was asleep?
Did he?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that. Because if you look at the video and watch, his hands are moving. Now,
yeah, but you can move your hands in
Does he have Parkinson's?
Nah, he's way too dead for that. Defensively, Susan. But yeah, if you watch the video, there was a 4K version of it that I looked at earlier today. It was on Twitter. And I zoomed in on that little area, and you can see that his hands he's kind of moving his pinky finger around and his thumb around like that. So unless it's just spasming, he's still awake. And NBC News said that as soon as the Israeli Prime Minister stopped talking, Biden was right there. And started talking without moving. He was still down with his eyes closed, but he was talking. So apparently he was awake, but looked like he was asleep, and the rest of America thinks that he was asleep because that's what he looked like.
Yeah,
it's a bad look. Even if he was awake, that's still a fairly disrespectful way to present yourself to a foreign leader.
Yeah, that's being so not paying attention. You know, he might not have been asleep, but he was in La La Land then. He was
no. Even if he was paying attention, that kind of body language is disrespectful.
Yeah.
It makes you look like you're not paying attention. Even if you're hanging on every word, it just looks like you don't give a fuck and you don't want to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to make me believe that that's what he was doing, though. That he was fully aware and that he was paying attention. Like, no, I'm sorry. He was in La La Land. If he wasn't asleep, then he was on the verge of it or in and out.
I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying, give him the benefit of the doubt. Say he's wide awake and he's just doing that on purpose. That's no better. That is still extremely bad for Biden to be doing.
There's a lot of bad taste with Biden. His press conference, one of the reporters asked him a question, kind of nailing him down. And Biden just ducked his head and put his hands over his head at the podium while
I saw that.
the reporter was talking. And then him checking his watch when the dead Marines were coming back.
Yeah.
I guess you saw that too. So the line of optical mistakes that he's making, he just doesn't have the awareness to understand. Joe, you can't do that. It looks bad.
It really, really does.
And of course, he's getting no shit at all. Everybody's just, oh, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Nothing to see here. If Trump would have done any of this crap.
I think people are scared that if they get rid of Biden, Harris will be worse. So they don't want to rock the boat. It's like, yeah, he's a complete fuck up, but can you imagine if Kamala gets in? Oh Jesus.
I don't think she could. I don't
she's
think
evil, not just incompetent.
Well,
so,
it's not just that. I don't think on the world scale that she even could. Based off of everything about her that she complains about the U.S. having a problem with, the U.S. doesn't have a problem with her. The rest of the world would. Like, I'm not talking about Canada. I'm not talking about Australia. I'm not talking about the West. Everything that he's just fucked up in the East is going to point at a no for her. Based off of her background, everything to do with her. Like, do you really see her going to Iraq or Iran or anywhere and getting anything done?
Well, there's too many things to stop. There's too many things to stop her. First of all, she's a woman. So
she's not just a woman. She's an Indian. I don't even know if she's actually Muslim or if she's Hindu, because that shit makes a huge difference on the world scale. And I'm sorry, Kamala. I think you were expecting to have a different run. I think she was expecting to have a competent president when she ran, and I think she got promises for that. But honestly, if she got in, I don't think she would last. And I'm not saying that from the behalf of an American. I'm saying this on behalf of somebody looking at the on the outside looking in. She's a duck waiting to get hit. And I feel for her, actually, because I think when the reality really hits her, to be honest, I wouldn't want to be her at all. I'd be taking off if I were her. Or getting you know what, lady, I highly suggest that you invest in a Popemobile, because I'm not talking about from me. I'm talking as concern for you. You know, like, legit, I think you probably are an evil bitch, but at the same time, though, I don't want to see a leader get shot, because that's really bad. It's still bad.
It's Mr. Adam in chat is saying that Biden tried to blame Trump for the Afghanistan exit, and yeah, he did. It's all Trump's fault. He hasn't been in office for good. How long's it been now?
Almost a year. It's almost been a year. Not a full one, but you know.
Still Trump's fault.
To be honest with you, with the amount of ice cream that he's on, I'm surprised he's just not a laxative away from you know, he's going to be in an official place, and that's basically what's going to happen is he's going to have an accident. And that should be it. Honest to God, America, if he has an accident, that should be it. No more I'm sorry, Mr. Biden, I'm sorry, your run is over. No shade to the elderly or anything. I'm just saying that, like, if you can't even hold your...
According to the internet, Kamala is a Black Baptist with Hindu roots. So if she's Baptist, she's Christian, right?
Yes.
So there's your
And
answer.
if she's Hindu, like I said, on the world scale, she's going to have a target on her head. And I'm not speaking from my behalf. I'm speaking in logistics.
If I was allowed to type it in chat, I would have put Hindu nothing. But I don't think YouTube would allow that.
You probably put didn't do nothing.
No, you can't. If you put didn't do nothing, it will not show up. That is blocked by YouTube. They will not let you say that. And that's why I don't think Hindu nothing would be allowed either.
I wonder if I, as a runner of the stream, can say it. Nope.
I am defiant.
They show up.
Even the owner of the channel can't put that in.
Really?
Really.
Canada defies logic. Well, I don't think Trudeau's done shit about his new policies.
Yes, I put Dindu and Hindu, and both got eaten by the censor bot, so you can't say them in chat.
Jen got through it by putting a space, HIN space DU.
Oh yeah, but she also said nothing instead of nothing. So
I typed in DINDO space NOTHIN apostrophe. Didn't do nothing, and that blocked me. Crazy town. Well, yeah, I mean, what 80 million people. All I can say. This guy can't.
Oh, is she the one with the gay flag? The Antifa teacher's getting fired. The one in California.
Is she really? She wouldn't be the first. Like three teachers now have gotten fired, right?
I you know what? I'm not a big fan of it, but at the same time, I really am, because I was taught from the get-go, regardless of where you work, keep your politics out of your job.
Is citing the Pledge of Allegiance a political statement?
It is, but if you guys do that as part of your states, like if it's part of something that your school system is doing, that stuff you got to take to your school system, not to your kids in your classrooms. She was taking down her flag deliberately to hide it so that the kids wouldn't have anything to pledge allegiance to. And then when her kids were like, "Hey, we're kind of pledging allegiance to nothing," she was like, "Well, I've got a gay flag over here that you can pledge allegiance to," and she refused to replace it. Yeah. And it's just, listen, like I said, keep your politics at home. Keep your politics at home. It's just a freaking flag.
The teacher who said that all the kids' parents are dumb.
Mm-hmm.
That was a different teacher. And that Trump sucked and all that kind of stuff. That teacher's gone too.
Good. It's not so much that I have a problem with the freedom of speech. It's the minute I realize that these teachers are treating their children, that they are teaching like they are their maternal children, I got a problem with that, because A, it is still politics, and B, it's psychologically fucked up to do that. They are not your children at any time, other than at any time.
Teachers don't seem to understand. They're babysitters. They seem to think they're the parents. I mean, actually, there have been teachers who have said, I spend more time with your children than you do. I'm their parents. Can you imagine hearing that from a teacher in high school or grade school?
Yeah, that's horrifying.
Well,
even the fact that schools can vaccinate kids without parental consent because it's for the kids' good.
Well, they're trying to here. Are they doing that there?
Wow, you guys didn't see the stuff that Trudeau was saying.
It's Australia's a mess. I mean,
yeah, you guys are.
I'm sure it's only a matter of time before it is officially mandated, and they drag me out of my apartment to get vaccinated.
The difference there isn't a person. See, that's the difference I'm seeing from my perspective. From here, I can say that's Biden. From here, I can say that's Trudeau. From here, I can't. Who in Australia is the boss of all this?
The Prime Minister is Scott Morrison.
Is he doing the mandating?
Well, the individual states are heavily responsible for how they handle things. So that's why Victoria has had 1 million lockdowns, because their Premier Daniel Andrews is like, "Oh, we get to do lockdown. Let's do 5." And whereas New South Wales is currently in a massive lockdown, but our Premier tried to avoid it for as long as possible. But I think political pressure got to her, and she just buckled and said, "Okay, fine. Let's join the crowd. Let's lock everything down."
Who's putting the pressure on the states to do this? Is it just the numbers? Is it the populace? Who's? Because if it's not coming top down like it is for me and Jen, then it has to be somebody else. And if it's not the top down, then it's got to be the people.
I think Scott Morrison is pretty eager to push vaccination, because he bought a fuck ton of this AstraZeneca stuff, and he wants to use it.
Yeah.
So he's going after the individual leaders of each state and putting pressure on.
I think so. I haven't followed it closely enough to say with certainty, but there's a lot of people that don't like Scott Morrison or the state premiers.
Who do you watch on YouTube that is in Australia that you consider someone worth listening to on YouTube when it comes to what's happening there, Terry?
I think Daisy Cousins is probably the only Australian that I regularly watch. I mean, I watch Bearing, but he's more comedy than news.
Yeah.
But in terms of like news, I pretty much, if Daisy Cousins puts out a video and it's not about the royal family or tennis, I'll be watching it. Yeah.
All right. I'm just writing down her name. DAISICOUSIS. The reason is the only person that
it's COUSENS.
Yeah, I remember it being spelled unusual. I've seen a couple of her videos. She has an unusual accent.
Yeah.
And
I think she's
the only
from
person
Queensland?
is that a Queensland accent then? Or is she from somewhere else?
From Queensland. I think she is.
She does sound a little bit like Claudia, and Claudia, I believe, is around that area somewhere.
Okay.
But the only person that I know of in Australia that has their finger on the pulse that I've been listening to is Sydney Watson.
Well, I don't count Sydney because she lives in America now.
Well, she's living in America, but her entire family is there, and she's in regular contact.
No, but I thought you meant people who still live here. That's why I didn't mention Sydney, because I watch Sydney lots and all the time. It's just that she's in America. I thought you meant people that
she's in America now. She spent a lot of time in Australia before she finally moved.
Yeah,
because she's still.
Well, when I started watching it, she was living in Melbourne, and then she moved to the States because she's a dual citizen and like she could.
Right. She's living in Texas. Damn right, Texas.
Damn right. Down right.
So the only person I listen to really in Canada as an authoritative source, can you guess who that is?
Viva Fry?
Oh, good point.
I hope you should listen to Viva Fry.
I do listen to Viva Fry. So apparently there's two people listen to because I also listen to Lauren Chen.
Oh, okay.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Do you think they would both be the most? I can't imagine anybody being more knowledgeable about what's going on in Canadian politics who is a person on YouTube.
I would go with Viva Fry because he's actually running.
He's so into the politics that he's actually running for office.
Yeah, he's running for PPC for Maxime Bernier, and I wish him luck. I think he'll do all right, at least for their party.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that they're going to win the overall election. I don't believe that at all. I do think it's going to go to O'Toole. Because everything I'm seeing and hearing is that the Liberals are not getting a good reception because everything that Trudeau is fake. Even on his own platform, he's coming across as fake. So a lot of his peeps are going to NDP, which has split his party. At best, my battle is not with Liberals anymore because I think they're done. My battle is with NDP at this point because I want to get them the hell out of my province. But at the end of the day, the war against Trudeau is very hot right now. At best, I'm being a little bit sketchy with the fact that people aren't getting their voting cards right now. And that makes me a little bit mad. Like, I don't like that they're waiting until the last minute to get those because I'd like to have mine now so I can register proper. Because, I'm going to vote him out.
I was just realizing we all picked people of the opposite sex because I said Daisy Cousins, you said Sydney and Lauren Chen, and then Jen said Viva Fry. So we all went with the opposite sex.
Yeah, I do watch Viva Fry, though. Yeah, I like his content when he creates and uploads a video, but I don't enjoy his live streams. I'm not a big fan of Robert Barnes.
They're a little bit long and they're a little bit too dry.
Yeah.
For me. But that's just, I don't know, maybe
David has an engaging personality when he does his regular YouTubes, but when he's talking with Robert Barnes, he's kind of concentrating on that conversation and not on his audience. So it's a different feeling. But why don't Why don't we talk about the Texas abortion ban? I wasn't. I probably should have. I'm a little bit sensitive to this because I don't know how people are going to feel about talking about this. As a guy, I don't really care. It doesn't make any difference to me than talking about anything else. But I wasn't sure if you wanted to cover this or not, Jen.
I don't think it's gonna fly. Like I'm more of a personal choice person.
My question was, do you even want to talk about this? Because some women might not like talking about this.
No, we could talk about it.
You don't have a problem talking about it?
No. No, I don't have a problem talking about it.
All right, well, let's talk about it then.
So honest opinion, personal choices is really kind of how I roll when it comes to abortion. I just, as a conservative, I've firmly stated before that if you fuck up, I'm not paying for it. Because if I can spend my whole life without getting pregnant, so can you. That's basically it. Like if you choose to do what you choose to do, that's fine. If there's circumstances that are like maybe outside of the realm of, maybe you did need help this one time, okay. But too often I think it gets exploited, or people use it as a form of abortion, and it's not. And I don't want to pay for it. So that's just my opinion. But you do you.
Personal responsibility is the cornerstone of conservative thought.
Mm-hmm.
So to say you're conservative and then to come up with the cornerstone of what it is to be conservative matches perfectly. But
I've always just been a personal responsibility person. So
yeah, Texas. Good.
And I don't want to be punished for other people's mistakes.
Texas says 6 weeks, and then nope.
So it's not even a full ban. It's just you got to do it within the first 6 weeks.
6 weeks, a month and a half.
That seems completely reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's basically a heartbeat bill for most points. Although there's no guarantee of what time a heartbeat is going to start. They're just saying 6 weeks.
Because I mean, my whole thing with abortion is sometimes it's the least worst option, and sometimes that's what you have to do. And so I don't think it should be illegal by any means. But what offends me is the people celebrating it like that Michelle Wolf is like, if you want an abortion, get one. It's like, It shouldn't be frivolous. It should be very, very serious. You should be like, what are our options? What can we do to avoid unnecessarily ending a life? If the answer is not enough, like our options are so limited that this is unfortunately the least awful among them, then fine. But take the decision seriously. Make sure that you understand the gravity of what you're doing. Don't just be like, if I get pregnant, I'll just kill it. That's fine. That is what offends me.
Well, that's just it, right? Because, I mean, if you really just didn't want to get pregnant, you would just get your tubes tied. Because here's the thing. That's not even permanent. It's not a for sure thing. But at best, it's going to keep you from getting pregnant overall. At that point, it's a miracle if you get pregnant. But no, these girls would rather just have abortion after abortion after abortion. And that's where I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want anything to do with that.
I didn't know tubal ligation was reversible.
Yeah, of course.
I know that cutting the vas deferens from a man is in most cases, but I didn't know.
If you tie something, you can untie something.
Well, they don't actually tie it; they sever.
Yeah, they're not just tying a knot in it.
There's different ones. There's different forms of it. There's ways where you can just kind of staple it, and then there's ways where you can just cut it, and like that one's irreversible if you get it cut. But there are ways that you can get a staple on it, so it's just like
nothing passes. But oh, I didn't know that.
One thing I bring up almost every time abortion is the topic is that fucking bitch Lindsay Ellis, the nostalgia chick, who got pregnant for the sole purpose of having it aborted.
Yeah, like that's just gross.
That is like beyond reprehensible in my mind. I cannot fathom how anyone could even have this idea.
To me, that is murder. That is literally murder because you planned it out, you thought it out, you executed it. That is murder.
That is just straight up evil. Like
that isn't a kid who is like, I just had an accident on my first trial. Like that. That's a completely different situation, and they want to conflate the two. I'm like,
there's a term in law called mens rea.
Mm-hmm.
Guys familiar?
I think that means the intent to cause the crime.
That you're conscious that it is a crime and committed it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the actus rea is like the actual performance of the illegal act.
Correct. So, I mean, if a kid, a young girl gets pregnant and it's because she thought if she had sex standing up, she was safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's different. One way. Yeah, that's one thing. And I have some conflict about this myself. If the child is going to kill the mother or put her in physical, then I understand terminating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. Like I said, sometimes it's the least worst option, and it's just we need to do this.
But I don't know what to think about rape, because here you have a perpetrator and two victims.
So that I understand is conflicted situations. So I do knew my brother knew a kid whose mom had been raped, and he was the child of that situation. So for him, it was more of the fact that he probably should have been given up for adoption, and for some reason the system kept him with her instead of letting them put him up for adoption, because psychologically she was never okay with it. Psychologically, she was always damaged by it. She wasn't trying to blame him for it. I kind of
imagine that would be normal, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
For a woman to be... let me just quick say
yeah.
Hello to Assassin of the Gray, and check your logic in chat. I'm keeping an eye on chat tonight. Go ahead.
Every woman is a little bit different when it comes to that. Like some women, when they're raped, it's a completely different situation. Instead, they take the child as like the blessing, like, a bad thing really happened to me. But maybe the child is born looking more like her, or maybe it looks more like her dad or something, because genetics are like that. It doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to look like Papa.
Yeah.
And so, you look at the child and you're like, okay, it wasn't your fault that your dad did that. And some women have that ability too. But for some women, you just can't get over the fact that, that trauma happened and this kid is staring at you as a result of it. And I've never been in the opinion of necessarily killing the child, because I'm of the opinion of the second woman. Like, it's not the baby's fault that this prick did this. But on the other hand, I could understand giving it up for adoption, because
absolutely.
Because if it does end up looking like a kid, I don't want a chance that maybe I have a freak out. Like maybe he grows up looking more and more like his dad, and it's no longer like this little kid that I loved as a child, and now all of a sudden I have a nightmare or something. I wouldn't want to do that to that kid,
I mean,
it's not his fault.
I've got no problem if you give the kid up for adoption because it reminds you of your rapist.
Yeah.
Killing the kid is really the contentious issue. Is like,
it's you're punishing the baby for something it didn't do.
But I can understand the counter argument of do you then have the responsibility of bearing not like 9 months of your life carrying this child as a constant reminder of your victimization? Like, I can get why that would add to the trauma of the initial rape.
So,
and
that I get too. I think for me, it really comes to the point of like, if I was raped and I caught it within the first like 4 to 5 to 6 weeks, I would terminate it.
Yeah.
Because at that point, it's a sea monkey in my mind. Like, I know it's still a human being. Maybe it has a heartbeat, but at that point, it's still a sea monkey. So I'm limiting the amount of pain and damage I can do to it as much as I can.
Well, I mean, if you get raped, the first thing you do is report it to the police, go to the hospital, and the next day, plan B.
Yeah. And that's just it. Like, you do everything that you're supposed to do, but like I said, like, I'd be watching the entire time to see if something had happened. because I would do all that stuff. Like I've talked to my brother about it before. Like if I got assaulted in any sort of way, I would have him taking pictures of everything while we were waiting for the cops and whoever else to arrive. You know, before they even showed up, he'd be taking pictures of things with my phone just so that we'd have evidence. You know, nothing in my life has ever been that bad. I have known people who have been raped, you know, or at least told me that they had. And like I said, my brother's friend. But if there are things that you can do to, I think if there's things that you can do to limit the damage to a kid that's never done anything to you, yes. But at the same time, I can understand somebody terminating it.
Yeah. Rape is the one really, really gray area that I can see.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the other stuff people bring up doesn't count to me as like a valid excuse. Like,
I used to have this statistic on my phone. Let me pull up my phone here real quick. I'm not sure if I still have the I think I might have gotten rid of it because I just didn't use it very often. Oh no, I still have it.
It'd be a really weird situation. Oh, go ahead.
Let me read this real quick. The state of Florida records a reason for every abortion that occurs within its border each year. In 2018, there were 70,083 abortions in Florida. The table below lists each reason and the percentage of abortions that occurred because of it. This will probably shock everybody. 0.0001%. The pregnancy resulted from an incestuous relationship. So that happened at a very early rate. Go ahead.
No, when people bring up incest, like even with it being statistically minor, I don't think that counts as a reasonable thing. Like, if it's not a consensual situation, then that falls under rape. But if a brother and a sister just like consensually have sex,
While
as disgusting as that is, as disgusting as that is, if the chick gets pregnant, they shouldn't get an abortion just because, hey, we're related. I don't think that's relevant.
I always kind of find it funny that they bring up that as a point anyway, and I'm not saying this to be racist in any way. I'm just saying this as a fact that I know it is a cultural thing that certain groups of Muslims have a tendency to marry into their cousins. And it's not just Muslims, it's other cultures too. I just know them as a point of fact because I watched a program on it. And culturally speaking, they tend to do that because they're kind of told to do that.
Let me go ahead and read the rest.
I don't think incest counts as a valid excuse for an abortion. If it was a consensual relationship, then no.
I'm not also saying that Muslims necessarily do the incest thing. I'm just saying that some of them have sections that do, and they know it.
Let me go ahead and read the rest of this chart real quick. 0.001%. That's one less zero. The woman was raped. 0.003%. The woman's life was endangered by the pregnancy. 0.01%. There was a serious fetal abnormality. Also, 0.01%. The woman's physical health was threatened by the pregnancy. 0.02%. The woman's psychological health was threatened by the pregnancy. 20.02%. The woman aborted for social or economic reasons.
That's disgusting.
75.40% inconvenience.
Yep. It doesn't surprise me.
Staggering. It's staggering. 75% just because. The reasoning was because.
No, that's appalling.
And it is because, like, I hate to break it to these ladies, but you know, it's amazing. You don't have to get pregnant. Period. I know this sounds like I'm slut shaming, but like, if you don't have sex all the time, and you limit your amount of sex to a little bit, and you know you use as much protection as you can. I get that gets pricey, and maybe you have to make sure that the guy is willing. If you're, I don't really know. I'm not a hoe. I mean, if I was a hoe, I can imagine it would be. But like, I mean, if you're having to buy condoms all the time and lubricant or whatever products, like,
Well,
I don't think the pills are.
I was thinking like IUDs and the pills and other.
I think I think it can, but I don't think the monthly stuff is necessarily that expensive. Let me Google that because I haven't ever used it because I'm not a hoe. Yeah, that's right. I've never used birth control because I don't date.
Well,
I mean, if condoms count, I've used birth control.
Condoms count. Absolutely. I used condoms until I got married, and my wife had a tubal ligation, so I didn't have to worry about birth control. And I use condoms with my current girlfriend. She's also on the pill. Her choice. I didn't ask. She said, I am on the pill. I was like, I can use condoms. I'm going to be in the pill anyway. I was like, okay. Oh, Poppy's in chat. Hi, Poppy. Oh, Deco D's in chat.
Oh, she might know too. At least for a range. But yeah, up here, it's not that much. I think the pills are like $13 for a pack. That's not bad.
No.
Yeah, that's not too bad. So if you were to do that, like, over a year, that's nothing. I would be doing that, and I would still be using condoms just because condoms do more than just protect you from. They protect you from more than just birth. They protect you from other stuff. But I would also take I have this thing with being reasonably safe when it comes to doing stuff like that. So the first thing I do is if I'm actually dating someone, I tell them flat out, hey, just, I'm not on any birth control because I haven't been sexually active in so many years. So as it stands, that part of my protection is not in. So, we're going to want to do stuff. So, that way the guy knows that we need to have a condom. Because I refuse to screw a guy over like that. Like, I'm not, I hate hearing stories about women who are just like, yeah, I just didn't tell the guy and I got pregnant. And then, he gets a phone call later and like, hey, I need some baby money. Don't like that kind of stuff. But yeah, your second thing is to get your condoms, see if you can get the day after pill, because the day after pill is a thing too.
Right. Poppy says in chat, by the way, tubes retie.
Okay, Elwin says that the pill is prescribed for other things too. Yeah, I remember it was because it's it regulates for some women. I just never did. I was like, it's one thing less in my system to muck it up, and no shade at women who do use it, because just because I'm sexually not active doesn't mean everybody else is. Sad story in cell life.
With tubes retying, you'd hate to be on the train when that happened, wouldn't you?
Right. But yeah, no. Like
you're on the London Underground. Suddenly, the tube just ties itself, and you smash into it.
I do know people who defy all logics too, though. Like, I did know a lady who once she had her first child and she had her second child, and she's like, you know what, I've done everything. I'm on the birth control, I've done the condoms, I've done the day after pill, I still keep getting pregnant. Once she had her third child, that's when she got her tubes tied. She was just like, you know what, and she got it properly done, like the one that where you remove it. Because she was just like, there's nothing else I can do to stop myself from getting pregnant, short of being already pregnant. And some people just are unlucky like that. So I don't want to punish people who maybe have that situation, but at the same time, though, like, I think killing something is like can still be the last thing to be the resort, because the other thing that I think is a problem, another excuse that a lot of these women have, is that the welfare for children outside of adoption is kind of shit. Like, and she's not wrong. And I can't stop looking at people like that and going, well, if you spent a little bit less money on funds for abortion, a little bit more money on the children who are currently alive, so that maybe the system could have better funds so they can make sure they're okay and taken care of better, and that the people who are caring for them aren't shitty people, it wouldn't be as big of a problem.
I think the Texas option is reasonable.
Yeah, it sounds it.
I don't know the details about incest and rape. I don't know how it's written into the bill, but you should be able to make a decision in 6 weeks, and you're doing the least amount of damage at that point. I put a tweet a tweet out earlier on this, and I know everyone's read it because everyone follows me on Twitter. That a baby is just a snapshot of the development of a human at a specific point in time. If you go forward from that, you go from baby to infant. I mean, they're not categories in name, but people can understand what you're talking about, the age of a human, if you use these terms. So you go with, infant, toddler, child, preteen, teen, adult, geriatric. That's the line up in age. But that line goes backwards in age too. Before that, you become a fetus. What's the one before zygote? Embryo. I'm not sure which one's which. There's embryo and zygote. And then conception. So you're a human. If you were to take a human and go, if you were, what was it? Button. What was that movie? The Weird Life of Brian Button, or whatever it was called, where he lived backwards. Benjamin Button. Yeah. He lived backwards. If you could just take that same idea and just go backwards and start with geriatric and go the other way, at what point does that human being who you met when they were an adult and you saw them become a child, at what point do you say, well, that person's not viable anymore? It just doesn't make sense to me that you can say, well, just because they're this year's old or that year's old or this year's old, that makes them human or non-human.
Well, I think if I'm going to be brutally honest with you, Hammer, when you were back to the point where you were a cluster of bubbles, you're fine.
Yeah, but I mean, that is conception at that point,
Yeah.
It's I think for me, the main question, and I don't know the answer, is at what part of development in the womb do they get the ability to feel pain? Because if they cannot feel pain, then I don't like it, but I'm more forgiving of an abortion at that point. If there's no pain receptors, the baby's not going to be suffering. It still sucks that it has to die, but at least it's painless. It doesn't suffer. So whatever point in development they gain, or they typically gain the ability to feel pain, is where I would be wanting to draw the line for how long you can leave it before you abort.
Yeah.
There are videos of babies in the womb who are being terminated, who will move away from the things that are coming to terminate them.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That's hard to watch.
No, bad. I don't want to see that.
But I think it's important. I think it's important for women and young people to see it, as horrible and gross as that is, because a lot of them are. I know I'm generalizing when I say this kind of shit, and I'm sorry, kiddos who are listening, because I'm not meaning to generalize the kids. But I feel like a lot of kids are coming out as either narcissistic or not really understanding of compassion more often than they were as when we were kids. And I know that's anecdotal, but like, you just see kids being willing to do stuff so easily that would make most other kids, even adults now, hesitate, just because the whole like, oh, that would hurt somebody.
I think our civilization has come to the point where we're very entitled.
Yes.
We don't care. I don't care what you say. I'm just gonna do whatever I want.
Yeah. The lack of ability to understand somebody else's pain or like just kind of pre-visualize that, like when it comes to the fetus and pregnancy world, they really have limited the life to a fetus. Like, they don't even refer to it as a baby. I do. I will. Even if it's a rapist child, I will still refer to it as a baby.
Poppy's got a lot of information. I don't know if you guys are reading chat, but she said 20 to 24 weeks and when they start feeling pain.
Yeah, I replied. I thanked her for telling me.
Yeah, thanks, Poppy.
Yeah, so we'll see if it gets through and becomes a permanent thing. I'm sure there's going to be challenges in the courts about this.
Yeah,
not too much. Not too much though, because I think a lot of Texas is going to agree with this. I mean, if you were to try to put this into effect in California, yeah, then I would see a flood of lawsuits. In Texas, probably not as many. It's a very red state, although it's certainly got its blue areas. Dallas is blue, and Austin
but them
is very
doing
blue.
them doing this might send some more of their blue back to Cali.
I hope so.
I think that might be why they're doing it. Like, if we piss them off, maybe they'll leave.
If this does get settled and becomes law, and all the challenges are denied, you're going to see a lot of red states say, "Hey, give me a copy of that." And that may be the only defense of keeping a state red, or at least a major reason for keeping a state red is nobody blue wants to move into a state that has that law. So I mean, it's separating us, but if you're sick and tired of the woke culture and you just don't want to deal with it anymore, and you want to go back to what conservatives or even centrists consider normalcy, then you want to move to a red state, because there ain't going to be very many blue people there with these kind of laws in place.
Well, that's the other thing I've noticed with the left too, is they've kind of bitten their own bullet with this, because they weren't really talking about common sense or rational abortions. Like, everything we've listed as like a potential maybe reason to do it seems kind of like, but they wanted to go and stretch things to the point where, like, yeah, we want to be allowed to have a termination at level 9. I'm like, the only reason you have a termination at 9 is because the baby's already dead. Something has happened and the baby's already dead, and there's nothing else you can do.
Right.
Like, because sometimes stuff happens and it's sad. Like, I hate to think about that kind of stuff, because women do have complications with children in childbirth. So that is a thing. But that should be an accident. That shouldn't be on purpose. This shouldn't be something that people are inducing to a 9-month-old infant in the womb. Because we know for a fact that children can be born sooner and live happily. Like they're not necessarily healthy right away, but they grow up to be healthy children. I know them too. Everybody here probably knows kids who are preemies. Everybody here probably knows somebody who was a preemie, even if you didn't know they were. So this idea that to me is murder. That to me is just people who are like, yeah, I just it was inconvenient, and it was. I don't like those kind of excuses.
No.
Yeah, inconvenience is not a reason to have an abortion. I will not accept that.
No.
Yeah, me either.
No.
We're at 10:30. Is there anything else you guys wanted to bring up?
I think Trudeau might be losing.
You think so?
Good.
I really do.
Is it a good shot, or is it just a feeling?
I think it's a good shot. Between the polls, which aren't looking good for him, the fact that his door-to-door campaign isn't going very well, like he's getting, like his people are getting a lot of heat.
I'm hearing a lot of boos when he shows up somewhere.
Well, they're following him. They've got people tracking him, so they know where he's going to be, and then they're there waiting for him when he shows up.
That's great. It's like Reddit.
And the media just can't understand it, because they're trying to fight for the guy. They're like, "Oh, you guys are being so mean to him," as though they didn't do this shit to Stephen Harper when Stephen Harper was out of the door. And I'm like, listen, this guy already put his foot into his own mouth by starting this campaign, because he started it early, for one thing. For two, well, I'm sorry you started it early, sir, because you weren't really paying attention to what Biden was doing, because honestly, that was his problem in the first place. He's trying to distract us all with the COVID and the passport shit. And I'm like, sir, you've just abandoned 1,200 of our military men in Afghanistan. while you're trying to push this coof passport thing on us. And it's like, yeah, I fully respect that people should be responsible and educated on the vaccines and do their own. Like I said, I'm a conservative. I believe in people taking responsibility for themselves. But he was trying to play it off like the children, we should be protecting our children. Just because you didn't get your children vaccinated doesn't mean that I should, my children should be put in danger because you didn't get. He actually said this, and we're all just kind of like, you're trying to play children off against each other. Children who don't need to be vaccinated. All right.
Well, I've been arguing on Twitter with people, and actually on YouTube, on Billy D's daily broadcast. Been dealing with a lot of people there who are left about the whole idea, and it doesn't seem to. I get very frustrated trying to deal with his audience.
I haven't tried. I'm not nearly as argumentative on online. It's sort of I'll make smart-ass comments here and there, but yeah. I don't want to get stuck in the weeds and actually argue these things out. I'm not passionate enough.
I try to make logical arguments, but that side of the fence is not about logic. They're all about emotion. So
yeah.
It makes it hard to fight with them because it's not like we don't have our own emotions too, and they're very good at stirring them up. Like they're very good at making you mad. Or at least for me, personally. But yeah, it's so hard to get things done with them, and it's not that I lack compassion. I think that's the thing that makes me so mad at them, is that they make it seem like our side of the argument has no compassion whatsoever. And it's like, no, I've always felt that compassion means taking the steps to do things right the first time by taking your time doing it, so that you have the time to make it a little bit safer in case things happen. As we're trying to fix the world, as we're trying to grow in this world, as we're trying to get everybody at the same level if we can, assuming that we can. And that's really kind of arrogant to assume that we should even have to be doing that in the first place. But apparently that's what they want us to do. We can't just do that overnight. And we're being run by emotional people who think that that's how the world runs. And it's like, nothing's grown overnight.
Yeah. Terry, you have anything you want to bring up before we get out of here?
No, actually, I feel like we hit some good subjects, and yeah, I'm happy. I'm good.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get out of here. Thanks, guys, as always, for hanging out with us in chat. If you're looking for more of the zoo, our Discord is linked in the description down below, and we're live every evening, 7 days a week. Quiz is our Monday host. Skep's on Tuesday. Johnny Hellcat, who was in chat earlier, is our Thursday host. Sanguine is on Friday. Harry Channel starts off the weekend on Saturday. And Poppy, who's in chat, and Delahazed take turns hosting on Sundays. We will be back next Wednesday, as usual. The show is permanently going to be on a 9 o'clock time shift, so we won't be doing 11:30 anymore unless an emergency comes up or something along that point. So I hope you all enjoyed the show.
Is that for every night, or are you just saying that this Wednesday?
The Wednesday show, yeah. The way the shows are set up is every host calls his own time slot. So 9 o'clock seems to work out better for everybody, all three hosts, and a lot of people in chat. So we're going to stick with 9. I was going to do 9 last week, but Monkey wanted to do 9, so I let him take 9, and I did 11:30. But starting this show and going forward, we'll be at 9. Other hosts will have their own time slots. You'll just have to keep up with them to see when they're going to be broadcasting. And
to everybody on the West Coast, he's talking 7 o'clock. You're welcome.
Yeah, 9 o'clock Eastern, that's right. So, well, I hope everybody enjoyed the show, and we will see you all next week.
Bye, guys.
Have a good one, guys. And watch out for Halloween everywhere.